So great to be here. Thank you very much for curating and physically living in LA and seeing hopefully you soon. I'm a media artist and director working in Los Angeles for 10 years. And today I would like to share as quick as possible the journey and the impact of NFTs in the practice and how as a community I think we are growing. Okay, so I think the journey started almost for me like as a child, I guess, enjoying the science fiction. But I think what was much inspiring, like many of us enjoying science fiction, when our heroes, such as William Gibson or Philip K. Dick, when they try to speculate the future. But at the moment, I think we are all in that kind of near future experience that we can invent together. Born in Istanbul, Turkey, it's a very interesting, beautiful city that when the literally West and East connects, like Europe and the Asia connects, it's literally like this left and right, black and white, all kind of these amazing contrast feelings can really be connected in this beautiful city. And it was also, I was 8 years old when I watched the movie Blade Runner. I think it's a very meaningful city where the movie is inspired. What was also much fun is the journey of augmenting architecture. 2008 started as a journey. In Istanbul, what was very fun is the software I was using is called VVVV. It's a 4V, it's a visual programming language that pretty much anyone can learn easily right now, and a free software. And you don't need to know about any coding, but most like a visual programming language. And over the years, what was exciting is this idea of augmenting architecture or embedding media arts into architecture became kind of like this exciting journey. And practicing in Europe, what was very exciting, 2008-11, there was lots of fantastic festivals allowing artists to take over buildings, do these exciting installations, like a hacking the public space. And for me, the changing time was 2011. There was this exciting installation idea that was using the 3 days of the Sound Street data and transform it into a data sculpture. I think also 2008 when I didn't coin the term data painting, but over the years this idea of using source of information in some different forms, but not just specifically focusing on what the data is, but what it can say and tell, became the poetics of data. I think over the years I found myself super immersed myself with the idea of, I think the data we create is not just an information. I think it's a form of memory, and this memory can take any shape. And by the way, this idea of using reality as an input, and for artists is just centuries-old idea. But for me, you will see a lot of frames in my work. It's 2011 rejection. Unfortunately, the idea was put a huge facade, a frame on a facade in Istanbul, and unfortunately it was impossible. And since then, that rejection became a kind of a canvas, and also inspired by, again, Blade Runner. Come to Los Angeles 10 years ago, studied at UCLA Design Media Arts Department, and I was super fortunate to work with one of the heroes, like Casey Rias, maybe you know him. He invented processing with Ben Fry at MIT, which allowed many people to create generative art. He was my mentor and teaching how to use Java and many others. It was an incredible community at UCLA. But for me, what was also very inspiring is how the technology is changing who we are. How we are becoming these entities that are that who knows who controls us. And how this sense of displacement between physical and virtual becoming a new kind of entity. And that idea also merged with this whole new universe we are all in. And I think classically the question became how to tell or create an art in the edge of this sense of displacement. And I think this is very exciting because NFTs and many other disciplines at the moment speculating this feeling, exactly this feeling. And over the years, the question became much more fun and, of course, challenging. What does it really mean to be a human in the 21st century became the fundamental question. This beautiful creature can learn how to use Instagram in 30 seconds if you watch it. So in this context, the question was so heavy, and I didn't want to be alone in this journey. There's a great African proverb. Yeah, just learn. It learns, and then, yeah. What is amazing is, there will be I think it will save, or she will save. Anyway, so the question is so heavy, and I didn't want to be alone in this game since as a childhood, I guess. Now we are 15 people, can speak 15 languages, represent 10 countries in our studio. And this multicultural and intercultural international team allowed me, and also don't think as a cliche startup page, please. These are the people truly, 2014, 13, 15, very early years, literally allowed me and team to give the best brush, best pigment. They donated hardware, softwares, collaboration, communication. And I was very grateful because that was, I think, a kind of the day that the classical art world was not accepting digital art, but the Silicon Valley, at the meantime, they were accepting and asking and speculating this medium. And last 8-7 years, very fortunately, create art installations, mostly in public space, because I thought that, first of all, art is not just for gallery and museums. Art should be for anyone, any age, any background in the world. And I found that when the artwork is in the physical world, in the public space where there is no door, there is no ceiling, there is no floor, there is no like, in and out, it's for everyone, technically and conceptually, that felt a much more honest connection with the art and the humanity. So this last 8 years was a really exciting, I guess, exploring the aspect and the fundamentals of public art first. And then over the years, what was, I think, exciting working with data is something, but 2016, maybe you remember, if you're anyone here working with AI, DeepMind and doing lots of AlphaGo and many other incredible works. But in the meantime, there was this algorithm popped in called Deep Dream. And incredibly, suddenly, artists and engineers were seeing machines hallucinating or creating backpropagation algorithm that is learned from certain data. And the team at Google, which released the code and everything, decided to create an art residency. And I was very lucky to be one of the first artists resident at Seattle and in Mountain View. At the meantime, Mario Klingemann in London and Memo Akten later in Seattle. Like there was an exciting moment happen, I guess, that allowed me and many people learn about AI. But in AI is like 60 years, like NFTs in 1 day in 1 year. And did my very first AI installation 2016, which was using this installation in immersive room. You go inside and surrounded with like this immersive space. But what was exciting is 1.7 million documents learned real time by AI and allows me and the librarians to see what AI, like how AI learns and how we can see what it learned. And this was like the time this idea of immersive spaces becoming much more relevant than just shiny pixels. And 2016 was an exciting year because it was also the year I was able to learn how to use GAN algorithms. On the left side, we are watching DC GAN algorithm 2016. I mean, it's again, 6 years is really, I feel old, but really, that was like a very early excitement in the studio, like seeing AI dreaming these documents. And on the right side, this idea of how can trace back the machine decisions by using fluid dynamics. And that became a body of work. Like last 6 years, this idea like training archives of machine and that memory or collective memory of humanity and transforming them into different narratives became a body of work. And last 6 years, we collect more than 6 petabytes of data, close to 2 billion images, and train more than 100 AI models. 2017 also, thanks to NVIDIA friends, we just deep dive into the NVIDIA hardware and software. And thanks to the team at StyleGAN 2, ADA, and previous PGGAN, we deeply worked with them and then understand the algorithm and developed it and create also tools. And the body of work became this kind of pigmentation of machine dreams or hallucinations, however you think about it. And if you see, like, it's not the same idea. Well, it may feel the same idea, but the different memories and different patterns and, of course, viscosity, like the particle field or like geometries you can invent in this imagination is just infinite. And the data itself, I think, creates its own also destiny. So the idea became like really fun, and it doesn't feel like it's repeating itself, but it's more like which other memories we can use for collective memories, and which AI can learn different than the other AI became other questions. So last 6 years, that became that. And for example, this is a tool we developed last 6 years. Like on the left side, I'm using a joystick, literally flying in the mind of a machine, and like a GAN algorithm. And on the right side, what I do there is reflected real time and reconstruct certain like GAN walks. And each of the neural nets, like layers, let's say up to 8 layers of like noise parameters can be also keyframed real time and do many other things. And this idea can apply to many different forms, and cultural artifacts can become a painting or a sculpture. And this idea also applied to maybe 2017-18 was like that year. Later, quickly, we tried 130 million images of New York, and then 2018 at Art House in New York, we were able to create a machine hallucinations in the first time in an immersive room. It was a very fun study because if you think about like not only just projecting the information, but try to create this seamless integration of what AI may dream by using 18 channels projection and 32 channels sound. It was really surreal, like this hyper-real sound around you and not wearing a VR, AR, or XR, but still there's a room to explore in the physical world. And later on, this very recent idea, trained on 75 million flowers, later on became installation, which is called Metamorphosis last year. And this time when you enter this room, not only you are seeing AI dreaming the flowers in the world, but also getting the scent of a flower. So we invented an AI scent with Firmenich, which is a multi-sensory, making you in the room change the scent real time based on the images that AI dreams. So that, I think, kind of became much more exciting in the metaverse, which I'll come later. And of course, NFTs. And like 2020, maybe a little bit earlier, in 2018, one of my collectors literally texted me and just said, hey, I cannot sleep without minting your work to my digital wallet. And 2018 was the, but I think I'm personally like in the crypto world, 2014 to 17, the 3 years was like mining and like a lot of deep into like the Ethereum iChain culture. So it wasn't like something popped up later. And Pak is a great friend, Ripple is a great friend, like always like connected and sharing. But it was really became, thanks to Nifty Gateway invitation, that was my very first NFT experience. And things get really exciting because I thought that machine dreams and hallucinations, minting them to like blockchain as an art form was a very fundamental idea because they only exist in the virtual space. Like they don't like even in physical space. So they like received very, very positively, and we did many other installations around the world, like this frame idea you remember. This is from the Australia during the pandemic called Quantum Memories. Also became another NFT project called Synthetic Dreams. Also last December was at Miami. We were able to create with Auris and Pablo, one of the most amazing NFT collector of many people, and he opened his own platform and allowed me and the team to like put a major installation in the literally public space. But what I want to say is, when NFTs are becoming not in a digital context immediately, but a physical world, when they like perceived and understood and like had a communication with the public, and then become an NFT, I think made a different impact. Because the society at the moment right now is creating in the first JPEGs or like MP4s or whatever the file format, doesn't matter, the experience itself born in the like metaverse versus at the meantime you have a portal in the physical world, a piece that you can explore, I think made a different connection with the audience. And that's probably one of the reasons we got a positive reaction from the public. Doesn't mean as NFT or not, but as an experience in life. So we found this very profoundly changed the reaction of the also press, who had some like negativity around the medium, but when they feel it, I think see it, that any artwork in the world can become NFT, that democratization and openness, and meditating someone next to it, like looking sunrise, that person on the left side you see, like that person's meditating, and it's just beautifully like creates a new dialogue with the metaverse. And in Berlin, we had 200,000 audience in 5 weeks in a gallery, and the piece again became an NFT. I think this is a very nice speculation about, like, again, starting an art context and then go to the NFT space. I think made a very safe space for the audience to feel it, explore it, experience it, and then accept it as an NFT. I think it's a really interesting take, I know, but that was a fun study. And later on, of course, the Sotheby's and Chris's many like auction houses are inviting people, like People's incredible sale that I think transformed the medium. Also, at Sotheby's, I was very fortunate to create an NFT infinity room. Like, the room itself was the NFT. The room you are seeing was minted, and the collector got the room itself as an NFT. I think it was the very first example of using immersive space like Kusama, like James Turrell, the heroes, right? Like, imagine a similar idea, but this time the room itself is in the collection. The idea was a train on NASA GPL's incredible satellite data from the ISS, Hubble, and MRO, and became a collection. And I think it was a very exciting moment last October that I think also bring the traditional art world to the medium more closer. But probably as a mini artist dream, working with MoMA, one of the most inspiring institutions in the world, thanks to Paolo Antonelli, Michel Coe, and the Feral File, Casey Rias, and Bitmark team, we were able to use entire MoMA archive and train an AI to make art. This meta context, like using one of the world's most exciting art collection, 200,000 images of heroes, and reconstructed reality by using NVIDIA Cellgan to ADA with a collaboration, that was a really, really fun and meaningful study. The project also sold significantly, but also what happened is MoMA, one of the most important institutions, was accepting NFTs, and in a way of communication, as a mean of expression, as a mean of medium. I think this was one of the most important last year's checkpoints for the NFT space, to be sure that the medium itself can be recognized and can be explored in a community as well. So we created 3 different artworks. On the very left side is a real-time infinite piece that AI constantly dreams, the AI dreams of MoMA. The mid piece is another a generative piece, but in a frozen world, same as on the very right side. And these pieces became in the collection of MoMA, but also in the collection of many major NFT collectors and lovers, and we created a very exciting community around these pieces. And lastly, I want to finish this today because in Los Angeles, 2018, I was very fortunate to work with very close LA Philharmonic and Frank Gehry, I think the Eiffel Tower of Los Angeles we can call. This beautiful building was my very first dream project when I come to this beautiful city. And the idea was in Blade Runner, watching this city and augmenting all the facades of Frank Gehry's Disney Hall as a canvas. I want to finish with this project because I thought that understanding the power of public art in an NFT space is very important. I mean, not just necessarily tokenizing every single thing, but why do we do that, and for which reason, and how it can be purposeful and meaningful for humanity becomes more and more valuable. And from that perspective, I think this project, which you are seeing of 42 projectors and real-time analyzing 100 years of every single data point of LA Philharmonic, was one of my most exciting installation in the world here in this beautiful city. So as a studio right now, we are exploring the power of public art and the power of NFT, and we are calling it Data Land, a space where any of our collector can go, but not in just virtual space, a portal where the physical and the virtual connects. So we are trying to reinvent the new metaverse, that I know like a cliche marketplace, a place where, hopefully, literally we can feel the scent of metaverse, the touch of metaverse, and becoming human in the center, and finding non-human in human becomes our journey. Thank you very much.